If this were day one, here's what I would do. I've been investing in property for the better part of a decade now, and if I go back to the first ever property I bought, number 36 Burdett Street in Burnley, I bought it for £21,800, and somehow it cost me £70,000 in pure mistake. So we can dwell on the past, or we can go today and see what I'd do if I were starting again. The truth is, my big mistake was ego. I don't know if you can relate to this, but when I started, I was watching Martin and Lucy on Homes Under the Hammer, and they were the gods, right? I'd watch it during uni. I maybe should have been at uni, but they would go, and it was on at 10 a.m. every single day, and you'd watch all these people, but my ego decided they were idiots, most of them. They'd get all of this advice from Martin and Lucy: do this, don't do that, here's an angle you could think of, and then they'd do none of it, and they still make money. And that always baffled me. It's like, how can you make so many mistakes and yet make money in property? Well, the truth is, actually, property is a very forgiving investment vehicle. But what if I told you if you made the right decisions, you can amplify your profits from day one? Let me give you a bit of a story about 36 Burdett Street. So let's see some simple rules. Buy the worst house in the best street, in the best area. Obviously, right? Don't buy something out of area unless you have an expert team there. Great. Don't over leverage yourself, and don't buy cheap because you pay cheap, you pay twice. Well, what did I do? Well, first of all, I lived in London, and I bought a property in Burnley, 240 miles away. Now, you might think, that's okay, you know, you can't afford in London. Well, I didn't have a team on the ground. Secondly, don't buy cheap. I bought it for £21,800. It's probably still worth £21,800. No, it's not. It's actually worth a lot more now, which was my big mistake, by the way. I sold it off because I got frustrated. I didn't have a team on the ground. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I'd end up driving up every single weekend, trying to do the refurbishment myself. And then eventually my next door neighbour, Steve, good old Steve, offered to plaster it and put in the kitchen. I thought, this is great. I was doing my third year exams at the time, thought this would be a great opportunity to outsource effectively. Now, obviously, I did no checks on Steve whatsoever. I just took him at his word. We'd had a couple of beers, a couple of pints of Foster's. I thought, what a great guy. Paid him in cash up front. Yes, I get, if you're listening to this, how stupid that was, but at the time it seemed the smart move for some reason. Left him to it, did all of my year 3 exams, and then eventually I went back up there after getting a load of blank text to find out that not only was it not plastered, not only was the kitchen not in, everything had been ripped out. The electrics that I spent about a month putting in myself got ripped out. On weekends, it didn't literally take me a month full time. The kitchen floor was dug up. Turns out there's lead in there. And then when I'm banging on Steve's window and I peer through it next door, turns out he'd done a bloody good job installing the kitchen, just in his own property rather than mine. So where did I go wrong? Well, first of all, I didn't do correct due diligence. And what I mean by this is I didn't do due diligence on the area. I didn't really do due diligence on the property. My mindset was, well, I couldn't afford anywhere else, right? I had about 22k, so 21,800, that's amazing. Thought it was brilliant. How can you go wrong buying a property that cheap? The next thing I didn't do due diligence on is the area. Turns out that it was one of the roughest areas in Burnley, and being blunt about it, Burnley's not exactly a posh area anyway. If you're from Burnley, I apologise. But then I didn't do due diligence on the person. I didn't check out past works, just thought, you know what, take somebody at their word. So when you're researching into people, you need to do a certain element of due diligence. So for example, I've got an education company. If you've not watched any of my videos, how do you know you're even going to get value from me? You can search my Trustpilot, Aspire Education, if you want to check that out. You can look at how long somebody's been doing something. How long have they been in property? Check company's house. Have they actually got activity going on? And so that was a really big lesson for me, where I didn't really look into the person, I didn't really look into the area, and you could kind of say, well, you're kind of destined for failure, right? Because if you fail to prepare, then you're prepared to fail, and that's exactly what I did. The next big mistake I made is, why did I buy cheap? Well, the reason I purchased cheap is because I didn't understand the ability to access money. Now, I was a uni student back then, so what was the chances of me being able to get a mortgage? Well, it turns out actually you could get a mortgage, but I'd made an assumption. But on top of that, I didn't understand what a wealthy area we're in. I'm not talking about London. I'm talking about the whole UK. You may have heard this before. If you haven't, write this down. Your network is your net worth. And I didn't have a network around me. I didn't really understand what access to capital I could have. And so instead, if I hadn't spent that money on this property, and I thought, wow, why would I ever do this? I should have invested it in my education. Now, some people out there, they're really against education in general, which baffles me, to be honest, because say I spent 20,000 on my education, which you don't need to do at the beginning, I'd suddenly have access to a network that I'd never have access to before. I would learn programs that I could never understand and strategies that I wouldn't be able to implement. And that's my big third mistake, I would say, is picking the wrong strategy. What do I mean by the wrong strategy? Well, if I've got £20,000, purchasing a buy-to-let or a rent-to-rent or a lease option is almost definitely not the right thing to do. There are active strategies within property where you can actually accelerate the amount of money you've got. So my preference is deal packaging. We've got a deal packaging business. I'm really proud to say this, actually. We just hit our first $500,000 month in deal packaging, which is great, but we make millions a year through deal packaging. If you don't know what that is, short version is when you negotiate on a property, you find somebody with funds that has got the money to invest in property, you match them together and you get paid a fee. So we get paid $6,500 plus VAT per property, and we don't put any of our own money in. So we do that as a service. We then generate a load of money, and then we use that money to purchase boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties. And by the way, if you're genuinely interested about being an active property business and you want to generate a load of cash so you can invest in your own boring vanilla buy-to-lets, then just put education in the comments. We actually do that as a business where we help people grow their business, and if you're ready to invest in yourself, you can access it through that. So what you do is put education in the comments. If not, I'll put a link in the comments and I'll pin it to the top so you can get access there. You register your details and you can have a free one-to-one consultation call to find out if we can even help you do that. So just pause now, put education in the comments, and then we'll chat to you on the other side. The next big mistake, social media. I'm not perfect to this right now. I try to put as much value as I can out to people, like doing this video, and hopefully you're finding value. If you are, by the way, hit the like button and hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already. But I should have done that a lot earlier. The platforms get to a point, and when I say platform, I mean like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm not coming from a place of perfection. I should be putting out so much more than I already do and getting more creative with the time that I've got. But if I'd done that a lot earlier, the platforms were less saturated. And so it's kind of like property investment. If you could invest in property today or 10 years ago, when would you have invested? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you did comment, most of you would have said 10 years ago because property prices were here, demand was here, whereas now property prices are here, demand here. But let me ask you this. If I asked you in 10 years' time, what would you do? Invest today or invest 10 years ago? I can near guarantee you would be saying 10 years ago, and that would be the same forever. So the truth is, yes, it's harder now than it was 10 years ago, but it's going to be even harder in 10 years than it is now because property prices go up and up and up. The reason why this links back to social media is it's the same. The more people that are producing content, the more convoluted the space is. How many other property people are there on YouTube right now trying to share value to build their brand and get subscribers, right? I'm not the only one. If I'd started 10 years ago, all right, I wouldn't be adding the same value that I can today. But imagine 10 years ago, I'd say, hey, or I'd probably be like, hey, my name's Jamie York, because why did I see that? But 10 years ago, I'd be saying, hey, I'm Jamie, I'm brand new to property, and I just want to share my journey with you day one. And that would be really valuable for people, showing them along the journey of me ripping out, putting in the wires, talking about how tired I am, sleeping in the back of the van, all of that sort of thing. And so I really wish I'd taken it a lot more seriously. So the reason I'm saying that is if you're watching this and you are brand new to property and you're thinking, what value could I possibly add to people? I promise you can add a lot. So I'll say this, document, don't create. Don't think you need to be a guru and showing all the value you can give people. Just show them the journey you're on, the mistakes you're making and what you've learned from it. People will get massive value. And I promise you, you 10 years from now will love going back and watching your first videos from 10 years and you'll see how much you've grown. So that's my next mistake is I should have been on social media way earlier. Final big mistake is lack of operations. So I find it quite natural putting myself out there despite not doing it enough, I would say. And so marketing and sales becomes relatively easy for me. And the reason why is because I've always believed marketing and sales is just about adding value. Like if I add enough value to you guys now, you might go, and over the hundreds of other videos I put out, you might go, hey, I want to invest with this guy. Either I want to become an investor of theirs through Aspire Property Group, or in this video, I'm talking about Aspire Education, that if you want to get educated, you want to take it to the next level, put education in the comments. You do that now, by the way. But the point is, if you got no value from me, then you wouldn't be doing that. So part of me putting out hundreds and hundreds of valuable content for free is hopefully you go, whoa, this has been so valuable. What if I invested in my education with this guy? So I've always found that part relatively easy because selling doesn't need to be cringy. It's very much we have a one-to-one phone call. I say, where are you at now? Where do you want to get to? What sort of resources do you have to get there? And then I very simply work out, can I help them, yes or no? And if I can't, I go, I can't help you. So it's just very honest. But where I have lacked is in operations. So as we scaled the businesses, like I said, in the education business, we're doing way over $1 million a year. In my property businesses, we're doing, well, 3, 4, 5 million a year right now. And we're looking to scale that up, and the operations definitely hasn't had enough focus. So this year in particular, I've noticed that that's really impacted me, the customer journey. So I've really been focusing on that. But I wished I'd focused on operations more a lot earlier. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd much rather go, we are marketing and sales up here, and operations here, rather than go our operations up here, but we've got no customers. But I really wish that I'd looked at that a lot earlier, because now I am the bottleneck in my business. And I mentioned social media being a really important thing, but the truth is, what's stopping me being able to put out more valuable content is the lack of operations in the business. So if I was starting again right now, I'd be thinking to myself, what resources do I have available? Is it more than 50 grand or below? And if it were, say, 20 grand, I would not be purchasing a property investment. I'd be looking to build a property business. And then I could use that property business to accelerate my funds and go out there and accelerate the journey. So as of today, I buy around 3 to 5 properties every single month. I don't put a penny in. I don't have the money up in advance. What I do is I build my property businesses, and then I package on these properties, use the funds, and build the portfolio. So if you are interested in doing the same and actually learning from my own mistakes so that you don't have to, so you can accelerate your funds, you don't need 20, 30 grand to do it. Obviously, you've been watching this YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe, by the way. I've got a load more valuable content. And if you're ready to accelerate that journey and you've got a few grand to get invested and move yourself forward, then put education in the comments and I'd love to have a chat. So look, this isn't going to be for everyone, but really you want to be investing your time or your money, because one way or another, you are investing in your education. That's either going to be through your time, your mistakes and losing a load of money, or it's going to be learning from somebody that's done it before. And that doesn't have to be me, okay? But if you do feel you relate to me, you watch some of these videos, then make sure to take that step. Don't get in your own way. And at the time of filming this, if you took swift action, you could add another income stream before Christmas. Now, depending on when you take that action, of course, but if that is you, get off the fence. Either decide to go all in or don't. So put education in the comments if that's you. If you are new to the channel, you want to learn more about not just education, but building your portfolio, how to get your savings together, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you did get value from this video, just tap that like button, and I'll see you in the next video.